Hey everyone, William Selway here and welcome to Metric and Prospect Tracking. In this video, we're going to be showing you exactly the SOPs for tracking your metrics and managing engaged prospects with the DM Sorcery system. Now, the metric and prospect tracking portion of DM Sorcery is by far the most important aspect of this whole system. Now, what I mean by that is we need to have an accurate representation of all of the data that is coming out of this system at all times, okay? We need to know exactly which portion of our system is performing the best so that we can iterate on it and change it to make it even better. Now, like I showed you in the first video, DM Sorcery is a weapon of mass destruction when it is iterated to its highest potential. And we only do that by monitoring the metrics, monitoring the feedback that we're physically getting from the system in real time. Okay? And in this video, we're going to be showing you how to capture that data, then how to analyze it and actually make changes so you can bump your ABR up to 5, 10, maybe even 15%. Okay? One of the biggest mistakes you can make with DM Sorcery is running the system, seeing results, and then not looking at the data and making changes. Okay? Because most people will run a system, they'll be booking appointments, and they will not change anything. And that is probably the worst way to go about this. Okay? By all means, if you're getting results, don't change the fundamentals, but there's no harm at all in analyzing the metrics and saying, look, we can add maybe 10% to the conversion rate on the VSL and then improve the system by booking an extra 2 appointments every single day. Okay? So go through this video once, maybe even twice, come back to it and make sure you're attributing the data correctly and using everything that I'm going to show you in this video, because by far, I'm telling you from my experience, the metrics give you everything you need to know about how well your system is performing and what you need in order to iterate it to bring your key KPIs or key performance indicators up to book more appointments and make more money for your business. So without further ado, here's what we're going to cover. We're going to start with what we track, and this is primary metrics. There's 4 main metrics that are going to go into this moving system, and we're going to break down exactly what they work and what contribute to them. Next, we're going to go over key performance indicators, but we will refer to them throughout this video as KPIs. These are minimum standards for the metrics that we will hold our system accountable to. Next, we have secondary metrics. These are the secondary metrics, aside from the big 4, that we can use to iterate our system effectively. Next, we have our metric assessment. This is how we actually look at the metrics and say whether or not the system is working, what we need to change. Next, we have the tracking sheets. Okay, and we're going to run through the entire tracking sheet that we need to capture all of the data and the engaged prospects for DM Sorcery. Next, we're going to give you our entire daily tracking SOP, so you can just open up the standard operating procedures and just tick off task by task in the morning and the evening to get the system operated at maximum capacity effectively. And finally, we're going to go through testing volume. How many Trojan horses, how many VSLs, and how many Calendly links do you need to send before you even think about making a change? So let's get started. So welcome to DM Sorcery Metrics. In this document, we'll explore what metrics are relevant to DM Sorcery, what they mean, and how to track them. First things first, what we track, and we will refer to these as our primary metrics. Now, there are 5 primary metrics that we will concern ourselves with to assess how well the system is performing. First things first, we have MSR, and this is our media seen rate. Now, this measures how many people see the initial Trojan horse permission message we send. The variables that impact MSR are lead quality, account configuration, account health, account age, platform limitations, and the message requests folder. Next, we have PRR. This is our positive reply rate, and this measures how many people sent a thumbs up or similar positive message to our Trojan horse permission message. Now, the variables that impact PRR are the quality of your profile, the content of Trojan horse permission message, the delivery of your Trojan horse permission message, and also any follow-up message content that you will be sending after the Trojan horse, and also how you deliver them via the voice note. Next, we have CSR. Now, this is our Calendly send rate, and this measures how many people send a thumbs up to our evergreen native VSL. Now, the variables that impact CSR are the offer contained in your evergreen VSL, the speed that you actually respond to the thumbs up they send you, the content of your evergreen native VSL. the delivery of your native VSL, and finally the engaged follow-up process that you'll be using to convert people who have viewed the VSL but not replied. And this will be the content itself, the memes and videos and voice notes, and also the consistency, making sure you're doing it on time. Next, we have ABR. This is the most important metric here, and this is the appointment booking rate. Now, this measures how many people actually schedule an appointment with you overall in response to being initiated. Now, the variables that impact ABR are all of the above. Every single one of the things I've mentioned so far will contribute to your appointment booking rate. Next will be the Calendly availability and configuration, and if you followed the protocols in Acquisition Genesis, then this won't be an issue. If you haven't watched Acquisition Genesis, this is your video warning to go back and watch it in its entirety before progressing with this module. And finally, the Calendly follow-up sequence. Again, this is the content you're using and the consistency, making sure you're doing the follow-ups on time. Finally, we have CAR. This is our connection acceptance rate, and this measures how many people accept your connection request, friend request, or follow you back. Now, throughout this whole process, we're going to be using key performance indicators to assess how well our system is performing, and we will commonly refer to these as KPIs. Now, we use key performance indicators to measure the performance of certain parts of our DM Sorcery systems, and for the systems as a whole. Now, to break these down into minimum KPIs that we have to uphold as a standard, we have a media scene rate KPI of 60% minimum, a positive reply rate KPI of 6%, a Calendly send rate KPI of 3%, and an appointment booking rate KPI of 2%. If your system is operating under these KPIs, then the system will need work. Now, later in this video, I'm going to show you exactly the parameters for making changes and how to troubleshoot those changes you make. Okay, so don't worry about them right now. I'll show you exactly how to use these KPIs to iterate your system at the end of this video. Now, they are the primary metrics. Okay. Now, we also here have secondary metrics. Okay. These are the other metrics we can track and use, and I call them secondary metrics. Okay. So the secondary metrics are used to denote how well every single moving part of our system is working. Effectively, what percentage of people are moving from A to B, B to C, and C to D, and then also people who are booking in. Okay. So first things first, we have A to MSR. This is our initiated to media scene rate. Okay. And we accept a KPI of 60% here. Full transparency, this is the exact same as up here. Next, we have our media scene to positive reply rate, and this is a 10% KPI minimum. Next, we have our positive reply to Calendly rate, how many people are moving from the VSL to getting a Calendly link, and this KPI is 50%. And finally, we have our Calendly sent to booking rate. This is how many people you send the Calendly link to who actually book in. And for this moving part, we accept a KPI of 66% minimum. Next, we're going to go through the metric assessment. Okay, so whenever assessing metrics, you want to go straight to the top. So we have a bunch of moving parts here, but it's very important here that ABR is by far the king of all these metrics. And if your ABR is in KPI, please change nothing. Likewise, if positive reply is in KPI, change nothing about the Trojan horse permission message, even if your MSR is bad. Okay, so we have what we call North Star metrics throughout this process, and these denote the most important moving parts of the system. If your system is booking appointments, don't change anything. Okay, because we can spend all this time fiddling around with MSR and PRR and CSR and all of these secondary metrics, but if at its core you're booking appointments within KPI, don't change anything, because the risk of changing moving parts of a working system far outweigh the benefits you'll get from making those changements. Okay? Changes. I don't think changements is a word. It will far outweigh the benefits of making those changes effectively. So if your ABR is in KPI, do not change anything. Just put more volume through the system. So for example, you could accomplish an ABR of 4% with a media scene rate of only 8%. Yes, the media scene rate is massively out of KPI, but you're booking appointments at a 4% rate. Change nothing. For example, you could accomplish a positive reply rate of 6% with a media scene rate of 9.5%. Again, change nothing here, because by fiddling around with the media scene rate, changing your profile, changing the lead quality, it's also going to have a downline effect of what comes out the positive reply rate. So if your positive reply rate is 6%, don't change anything. If you want more appointments, it's better to pump volume into a subpar system than to try improving it. For example, let's say for training purposes, I'm sending 100 messages a day with a 2% ABR and only a 10% media scene rate. And let's say I want to double the amount of appointments I book. Instead of going to all of the risk and fiddling around with the system and trying to figure out how to double my media scene rate, it's easier and much, much, much less risky to just double the amount of messages I send. Once a proof of concept is discovered, look no further for shiny objects and just scale the life out of the system. Remember, 100 messages a day at a 1% ABR equals 20 appointments a month. And if you're converting at between 20 and 25%, that's 3 to 5 new clients every single month. Remember this, okay? People get so bogged down in the metrics and thinking how we can bring stuff up, but the number one way to fix outputs is just to double inputs. Remember that. So how do we capture this data? We use what we call the DM Sorcery tracker, okay? So we use a sheet to track prospects and their progress throughout the whole conversion system. Okay, and we track all the prospects, and by doing this, the metrics will auto-log and tell us effectively how the system is running. Okay, now this metric tracker will also act as your CRM. Okay, so it's a CRM and metric tracking sheet all in one. So first things first, make a copy of the below spreadsheet and use it to track your prospects. And here is what the DM Sorcery tracker looks like. Okay, so I'll zoom out so you can get a full view. This is the dashboard here, and this shows us our exact metrics on a monthly basis and also a yearly basis. Okay, now to break this down even further, we obviously have to capture the data month by month. So if we open this up here, we have our tracking sheet, and I'll zoom out so you can see it. Here we go. So we have 4 moving parts. We have the initiated stage, A. We have the media scene stage here. We have the engage stage here when we send the native evergreen VSL, and this initiated stage is when we send the Trojan horse permission message. Okay, so Trojan horse permission message stage, evergreen native VSL or engage stage, the canon lead stage, or when you send the calendar link, and finally the book stage when prospects have actually booked in. Now every single prospect that you put into this sheet will move through all 4 parts here. They won't come from here to here, although they might just book in straight away, they do that. But effectively you'll move them from here to here, to here, to here, getting a unique thumbs up at every single stage. So you'll send the Trojan horse permission message, get a thumbs up. Send the evergreen native VSL, get a thumbs up. Send the calendar link, get a thumbs up, and eventually, well, not a thumbs up, you get a booking at the end here. Okay? Now before I run through the system, I'm going to go over some notes on how to use this sheet. First thing first, you never delete a prospect from this sheet. Okay? So once you put a prospect into this first stage here, let's say they move to engaged, you don't delete them, okay? Because by deleting them, we mess up the metrics overall, okay? I'll show you what to do with these prospects who do move to the next stage, but essentially you're never putting someone in here and deleting them for whatever reason. If they negatively reply, you do not delete them. You never delete prospects from this sheet. Next, zoom out on your browser. So obviously, like when you first log in, it will look like this. You know, you want to be able to capture all the data at once. So zoom out so you can see all of it here, okay? And then just drag between the bottom to get a full picture of what's going on here. Log every single prospect. This is extremely important. Never send a Trojan horse permission message to a prospect without first adding them to the initiated stage. On the other hand, never send a VSL to a prospect without first moving them from here to here. Your metrics tell you everything about how well the system is working, and if you don't do this, you effectively don't know how your system's working. This is why metrics are so important, okay? You need to track every single small movement that's being made in the system, otherwise the metrics would be inaccurate and we can't make changes to improve the system. So log every single prospect. Bookmark this sheet. You'll be using it every day, okay? So what you want to do is just press bookmark, just save it to your bookmarks bar, like so. What you can do is make a folder under here, call it like DM Sorcery, go ahead and just nest all of your tracking sheets in here. Cross out prospects once they move from letter to letter. Now I'll show you how to do this, but effectively instead of deleting them, you'll be crossing prospects out. So you move someone from here to here, highlight them as done on this section and move them to here. You just don't delete them essentially. Next, if someone isn't interested after a certain point, cross them out and mark them red. Again, just don't delete them. Cross them out, mark them red. Don't delete them from the sheet. And finally, another very important one that I see a lot of people making mistakes around is you need to have a different sheet for each different platform you use. Okay, so when you open this sheet, let's say you're running outreach on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You don't compile all three of those platforms onto one sheet here because the metrics will be inaccurate. Every single account will have different conditions and different variables that come into play. So we need a different sheet for every single platform you use. On top of this, you need a different sheet for every account you have on each platform. So let's say you're running 2 Facebook accounts, 2 Instagrams, and 2 LinkedIns. You won't have 2 Facebook accounts on one sheet here because, again, every single account will have different conditions. It will be warmed up a different amount of time. It'll have a different profile picture. You know, you'll be sending different leads. They need to be attributed correctly. So let's say you have 2 Facebook. You need one of these tracking sheets for your first Facebook account and another tracking sheet for your second Facebook account. Do not cross-contaminate any of these accounts or platforms. Every single account and platform needs its own tracking sheet. Okay? So how does this sheet work? So I'm going to run you through this as simply as I can. I'm just going to show you what would happen if a prospect enters the tracking sheet and how they would effectively move from this section to this section, this section to this section, and this section to this section. Okay? So first things first, what we need to do is actually name this tracking sheet. So as you can see at the top here, we have platform in brackets, year in brackets, and name in brackets. And you want to replace these with the information about your account. So first things first, you want to put the platform in here. So for example, let's say this one's used for Facebook. You want to put Facebook here. Next, the year, because these are yearly trackers from January to December, we want to track by year. So for this, we will put 2024. And then for the name, this is only used if you have multiple accounts on one platform. Just here, just put the initials or the name of the account. So for example, I have 2 accounts, one William Thomas and one William Selway. So what I would do is just put WS for my William Selway one and then WT for my William Thomas one. Okay? Cool. So before I even go into the tracking here, we have the metrics. Okay? Now these are what you're going to be using to make changes. Okay? So here, we'll start with the stage and the prospects. So this thing here works out how many prospects are in each stage. All right? So for example, in A, we have the amount of people here. This is media seen. This tracks how many people are actually viewing the message. We have B here, which tracks how many people are in this stage. C, which tracks how many people are in the Calendly stage. And D, which tracks how many people have booked. Okay, now this will auto calculate for you. So if I put some people in here, it will automatically put in how many people are in here. If I put media seen on some of these, it will automatically tell you how many people have media seen, have seen the media. If you put some people in engaged, it will auto calculate for you. So as you can see here, as I run through the system, the metrics are auto calculating for me here. And it's telling me exactly how many people are in each stage. Okay. Now, aside from this, we also have the percentages for conversion, and this is what you'll be used to work out whether or not you're in KPI. First things first, we have our media seen rate. Okay. Now the media seen rate pretty much denotes how many people are seeing the Trojan horse we're sending. Okay. So as you can see from working out here, we've got 5 people initiated and 3 people media seen, and it works out a KPI, a percentage of a 60% media seen rate. If you hover over this, it'll tell you the exact KPIs. We are in KPI here. Next, we have positive reply rate. Now this tells us how many people are viewing the Trojan horse and replying positively and moving to the engage section. And it'll auto calculate here. Right now, it's 40% from 5 down to 2. Next, we have our Calendly send rate. The KPI is 3% here, and this effectively tells us how many people are moving from this section to this section. Okay? And finally, we have our appointment booking rate, and this tells us how many people are moving from Calendly, so they've got the calendar link, to actually booking in. And these are our primary metrics here. Next, we have our secondary metrics, okay? And these are done based on how many people are moving from here to here, here to here, and here to here, okay? Now, the primary metrics are based, I kind of explained that a little bit wrong there. The primary metrics are based on how many people are going in based on how many you initiated. So the positive reply rate bases from here to here. The Calendly send rate of how many people have received the Calendly link from being initiated. and booked, how many people have booked in from how many initiated messages you send. So the secondary metrics here, we have A to media seen. This is how many people were initiated and how many people saw the media. Okay, KPI 60%. Next, we have media seen to B. These are how many people actually saw the media and positively replied, and here we have a 67%. So this will be slightly different to the positive reply rate put in here. Next, we have our B to C rate. This is how many people are moving from here, from engaged to Canon lead, and C to D, how many people moving from Canon lead to booked. Okay. Now, these are the most important metrics because these tell us what our percentages are based on the inputs we put in. So if any of these are out of KPI, you'll start looking at here. And for example, let's say our B to C rate, let's say the amount of people moving from engaged to Canon lead is low. Let's say, for example, we've got a bunch of people in here and we've got a 13% B2C rate. That tells us the evergreen native ESL needs changing and we can make the change there. On the other hand, let's say we've got a bunch of people in here, like so, but only one person is booked in at 13% CTD. That tells us that the Canonly stage needs changing, either the Canonly configuration, time to lead, or alternatively the follow-up process. Okay, so you'll use the secondary metrics to tell us how well every single moving part is working, and then we'll use the primary metrics to tell us how well the system is working overall. Okay, let's go ahead and delete that. That's how the metrics work here. And finally, the final metric here we have is the connection acceptance rate. Okay, and you'll use this to log how many requests you're sending, how many are accepted, and then the percentage overall. Okay, now we don't do this day by day, we do this by month. Okay, it's very important we do it by month. If we do it by day, we don't know when people are accepting and which day we send them out. So we do it by month. So let's say on day 1 of running this system, we sent 30 friend requests. Okay, we come in the next day and we send our initiated messages to people who accepted our friend requests. And we say, right, on this day, 12 people accepted my connection request. We know we've got a Canonly acceptance rate of 40%. Okay, and when you come to day 2 and you send the next batch of requests, let's say we sent another 30, we go up to 60. We leave that there. And the next day, when we come in and we see how many people have accepted it, we go to our friends, we go to our profile, go to friends, see that 6 people accepted us. We'll add 6 to 12. So we go to 18. And you'll constantly be adding these people in as we go. I wish there was a way to just click and add the prospects so it tallies up by itself, but you have to add a script into Google Sheets. It just doesn't make sense. This has to be added manually with a little bit of calculation, okay? Just make sure you're staying on top of this throughout the month because it's very important. And our Canonly acceptance rate, the minimum KPI is 20%, okay? I promise you'll get more than this, but as an overall, the acceptance rate for this is 20% at an absolute minimum. Don't be surprised if on LinkedIn and Facebook you get close to a 40 or 50% because that is possible. But overall, absolute minimum is 20% here, okay? So let's remove these people. Okay, so the first moving part here is we have to actually go ahead and initiate prospects. Okay, now number 1 rule, you do not put prospects into here if you haven't sent them a Trojan horse message. Okay, so even if you've got a lead list of people, you don't add them in here because by adding them into here, it will automatically add like 100 people into here and the metrics will be off. You only add people into the initiated stage when you've actually sent the Trojan horse permission message. Now, what do we need from prospects when adding them in? First things first, we need their name and we need their profile link. Okay, it's very important to put their profile link because when you're doing follow-ups, it's a lot easier just to go ahead and click on the profile link and then open them up into a new tab rather than going to Facebook, searching for their name and doing follow-ups that way. This makes the whole process a lot quicker. Okay, so you add their name and profile link in here, like so. So we'll go ahead and fill this out with some people. Let's put Charlie Morgan, Bo Borgans, Kanye West, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg. No affiliation with these people, just off the top of my head. And you put the profile link in for these people. Okay, obviously I'm just going to copy and paste that because I don't want to type out for each one, but you get the picture. So when you go ahead and send the Trojan horse permission message, you log the people immediately, and it's very important you log it straight away. The final thing we need is the date we initiated them. So for example, today is the 12th of August. We'll go ahead and put the 12th of the 9th into here. All right. You don't put the date you lead source them. You don't put the date they replied, you put the date you sent the Trojan horse permission message. Okay, that's all you need. All right, to add more people in, for the next day, let's say I sent some more, you put the next day in, and then the following day for the 13th, etc., etc. Okay. Now next here we have 1A. Now this denotes the follow-ups we're doing on these prospects. Now we only do one cold follow-up on prospects. Okay, one follow-up on the Trojan horse. And all we use this column for is to put the date we did the follow-up. So for example, let's say for these people, they didn't reply, we do a 1A follow-up on the 13th of the 9th, like so. And we use this to track all the follow-ups we're doing. Remember, the 1A follow-up is done after 24 hours, so you pop it in here. Okay, we have a note section here. This can be used to capture any information about the data, maybe location, if they're active, the business they own, just anything useful for your niche that you want to add in here. So if you're doing follow-ups, you can maybe add something in here. Okay, use this just for your own notes. Next here, we have media scene. And we use media scene to track how many people are viewing the messages. Okay, now the way we track how many people are actually viewing these messages, if you come to a platform here, all of these accounts that we send to will come up with a lovely little picture at the bottom to say that they viewed the message. Okay, now this is the same for all accounts, for all platforms. So on LinkedIn you get a little picture, Facebook you'll get a I believe either a little picture or 2 blue ticks, I can't remember. WhatsApp you'll get 2 blue ticks, Instagram you'll get a scene, and then on X you'll get a scene as well. Okay, so we effectively use this tracking here to tell us whether or not a prospect's seen it. Okay, so you'll go through the following day and effectively check how many people have seen the messages. So let's say just for training purposes here, let's move these 2 bottom out, and let's say these people have seen my message here. All right. So as you can see, it's already calculating that we've got a media scene rate of 71.4%. Okay. Next, we have the engage section here. All right. Now the engage section tells us how many people have positively replied and been sent the Evergreen Native VSL. So let's say for training purposes, Elon Musk here saw the entry message and he is interested in what we offer. What we do is we go ahead and copy the name and profile and paste it into the engage section, like so. We then put the date engaged. We don't put the date they replied, we put the date we actually send the VSL. Now granted, the day you send the VSL should be the exact same as the day they replied, otherwise you're taking way too long to get back to these people. So just for training purposes, it has to be the day you actually send the VSL. Because if you put it the day they replied and you send the VSL 4 days later, suddenly the follow-ups are all going to be off, okay? Because we have to do these every 24 and 48 hours, all right? So let's say they replied on the 12th. We go ahead and put the date they engaged, the 12th of the 9th. Okay. Now, what do we do with Elon Musk in here? We do not delete him from this section. We just go ahead and put a cross through him. There's a little S here with a line through it. Just cross him out on this section. This tells us that this guy has positively replied and moved to this section. Okay. Now we do the same for Mark Zuckerberg. We'll go ahead and just put 2 people into here, like so. And let's say, for example, Mark had a follow-up first. Okay, and then we sent it on the 13th. We go ahead and log the date engaged as the 13th of the 9th. Okay, go ahead, as always, cross him out. Now, what happens if someone negatively replies in this section and doesn't want to move forward? Now, obviously, you would try and objection handle them here. But if they're just not interested, they do not want to hear anything else from you, we don't delete them from here. What we do is, let's say I, William Selway, negatively replied. We just go ahead and highlight him, cross him out, the same as if he positively replied, but what we do is we click on the little bucket here and highlight him red, okay? This tells us that this prospect is not interested, no longer in the pipeline, and we highlight them red, okay? We don't delete them for like the 5th time. We don't delete them here. We cross them out and highlight them red, okay? So next here, we have the engage section, okay? So this is once a prospect has positively replied to the Trojan horse and they've received an Evergreen Native VSL from us, okay? Now, the only thing you need to do here is log the date they engaged and then use this to log follow-ups. Now, as we mentioned in the last video, we do 8 follow-ups on the engaged VSL prospects, okay? So you use this here to do the follow-ups, okay? So let's say for Elon Musk, we do a follow-up on the 13th and then every 2 days, so the 15th, 17th, and 19th, and let's say he positively replies on the 4th follow-up and moves to the Calendly section. What we do then is copy and paste the name and profile link, pop them into Calendar Lead, put the date you sent the calendar link. So for me, it will be the 19th, like so. Copy and paste Elon Musk, and cross him out. Now let's say that we did the same for Mark Zuckerberg. We did a follow-up on the 14th, 16th, 18th, 20th, 22nd. Let's say for training purposes, he got all the follow-ups here. And he didn't reply. Okay, you don't delete this prospect here. What you do is you follow the exact same SOP as a negative reply. And you go ahead and cross him out. So put a line through him and highlight in red. Just say, look, this guy's had all the follow-ups and he didn't reply. On the other hand, let's say, for example, Donald Trump came through as well here, and he saw the Evergreen Native VSL, but immediately he wasn't interested. Okay, obviously we wouldn't do follow-ups on here. We would try and objection handle him here. So you'd maybe say objection handling in the notes section. Okay, but he's negatively replied. We're trying to objection handle. If he's just not interested, we wouldn't do any more follow-ups with him. Go ahead and copy him, cross him out, and put him as red. If you'd like, when you're objection handling, you can put him as a nice orange color to say, look, I'm objection handling this person. But it's up to you. Just try and keep it clean. Just use all these assets as much as you can to tell you what's going on with the system. It will reward you in the future when you got a lot of people in here. Okay, but let's say he's not replied. We go ahead and put him as red. Also, while I'm here, you can, if you want, highlight these people green. So like, for example, you can use a traffic light system here and put him as green if he's positively replied. It's up to you. I don't do it. I just believe him like this and just put red if they don't reply. Use this. Next, we have the Calendly stage. Again, you get the picture here. We use this to do follow-ups in here. And we follow the exact same process. When someone books in, we go ahead and just copy the name, put them in here, put the date they booked. So for this one, it'd be the 23rd, and any notes you'd like about the booking here. Okay, again, in here, you just highlight them this. If he negatively replied in this section, you'd highlight him red. If he was objection handling, you'd highlight him orange until he is definitely not interested, and you put him as red. Okay, so that's how the system works. Okay, it's very straightforward. Effectively, every single prospect that comes into this sheet will be going through a 4-stage flow. You never delete prospects, and you move them from stage to stage, and you're tracking everything. That's the way you win with this system. Okay, nice and straightforward. So next here, we have our daily tracking SOP. So the daily SOP for DM Sorcery is very straightforward and must be followed twice per day, once in the morning and once in the evening. Now I'm giving you this as I understand all of you are business owners and you have a very busy schedule. You have service delivery, you have sales calls, you have other outreach to do. So if you want the most black and white straightforward way to actually run this system, then this daily workflow SOP will work for you. However, before you go into this, a little forewarning, okay? The more you can be active on the system, the better, okay? So we're going to give you SOPs for the morning and evening, but it's going to only be a benefit for you if you're operating the system throughout the day, because it means we can reply to these leads as soon as possible. So follow these SOPs, but if you have all of your social platforms open and then pinned like I have with these tabs and have the sound on, you'll know when you get a message, so you can go in and reply as soon as possible and get them booked in, because speed to lead is extremely important for DM Sorcery. Okay, a prospect could positively reply and see the VSL and be in a state where they're very interested, but the longer you leave it, they're going to go off, they're going to make some food, they're going to forget about you, they're no longer going to be that interested in your service, and if you reply like 6 hours later, the chance of the booking just goes down and down. So I highly recommend having all of your social platforms open, pinned like this, and then with the sound on so you know exactly when prospects are coming in so you can reply as soon as possible. But nonetheless, here is our daily tracking SOP that you can follow if you have a very busy schedule. So if you're running DM Sorcery, this must be done at the same time every day. Quick tip here, do it every day. Please do not try and batch this at the end of the week or miss a day, then do it tomorrow. Do it every single day. Otherwise things get chaotic, messy, and impossible to fix. Trust me, I've had over 30 setters at this point. I've ran these systems myself for over 2 years. I've tried batching it. I've tried cutting corners. The metrics go down. Do this every single day. Even better, the minute you send a message, track it immediately. If you try and batch this, things get messy, and honestly, it's impossible to fix. So please just do this every single day, and you will succeed. So first things first, we have this standard operating procedure for the morning. Okay, this is split down into 3 different sections. We have tracking, outreach, and follow-ups. First things first, open up the metric tracker, like so. Next, navigate to the correct month. So find the month. For this training, I'm in January. Next, open Calendly. Now, I'm not going to open Calendly because I can't open the backend on recording, but effectively you'll use this to find out who's booked a call from the previous day. Okay, and you want to add the booked prospects to the green D booked columns and add the date. So anyone who's booked in Calendly, come to the green column and add them in here and the date they booked. Next, cross out booked prospects from the purple C Calendly columns. So once they've booked, find this booking in here and cross them out. Next, open the relevant social profile. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you're using for this part of the tracking. The first thing you want to do when you open a social profile is check for prospects who have replied to any message saying not interested. So go to the Messenger app, scroll through and look for any negative replies here. Okay. Next, you want to cross off and highlight in red any prospects who are no longer interested. And this is for all of the stages here. So go through your messages, find out who's not interested and find them on here and cross them out. Now, there will be some objection handling that you have to do. So I do recommend, instead of just crossing them out red, highlight them orange so you can handle some objections before you actually cross them as not interested. Okay. Next, you want to find the people who want a Calendly link for you. Okay. So you want to send a Calendly link to engage prospects who want to book using the template we mentioned in the last video. Okay. So go ahead and send the Calendly link and then find them in the engage section, cross them out and move them into Calendly. Next, you want to send the Evergreen VSL video to interested prospects who gave permission. Okay, so go ahead, find all the people who want an Evergreen native VSL, send that to them, and then move them from initiated here to engaged here. Okay, and that's all your tracking. That's what effectively you're going to be keeping up with everything that happened while you weren't operating the system. Next, we want to do our outreach for the day. Okay, to do your outreach, you want to first source your leads. Now, it's up to you. You can source your leads the night before, or you can do it in bulk. But effectively, if you're not doing that, just source your leads or just get your leads together so you can reach out to them. And next, you want to send your Trojan Horse permission messages for the day. Okay, once you've sent all of your Trojan Horse permission messages for the day, add them into initiated here. And finally, follow-ups. Okay, so we split the follow-ups for the day into two different sections, morning and evening. Okay, because we don't want to do all follow-ups on engaged and all follow-ups on Calendly in one sitting, because it will mean you're sending a lot of messages and it will just speed run you to getting your account blocked. Okay, so split this up. The first set of follow-ups we do is we do the 1A. Okay, so the first follow-up we do is the 1A in here. So you send Trojan Horse follow-up messages to initiated prospects that are +1 days old in 1A. And the next set of follow-ups you want to do in the morning is you want to send follow-ups to Calendly prospects every 2 days. So you want to effectively do the Calendly follow-ups first, because these are people who have gone through the whole process. We want to get these follow-ups done in the morning as soon as possible. So we'll go through here, find all the prospects who need follow-ups and do them one by one. Okay? Finally, go through your initiated prospects that you sent, follow up 1A to yesterday, and log whether or not they viewed the media you sent. Okay? This is very important. Okay? So we only track media seen after a prospect has been initiated and received the first follow-up. We don't track them after 1 day because sometimes it can take 2 days for a prospect to even view the message. You want to give them as much time as possible. So we want to put them through the whole process. They need to have initiated and received the Trojan Horse and also received the 1A follow-up before we even track media seen. Okay. Now, it's very important. What happens if someone here has replied before you've had a chance to do the follow-up or track media seen? Okay. So you want to SAP it for whenever someone is moving from initiated to engaged, you just track them as media seen anyway. So over here, Mark Zuckerberg, these two people, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, have replied. Regardless of whether or not you track media seen rate, you know they've seen the message because they've replied. Just track them as yes. Okay. Cool. And that's the morning workflow. Okay. Now, between morning and evening, you do want to have these accounts open and with notifications on so you can hear messages coming through. And you also want to have these tracking sheets open or just at a bookmark so you can quickly open it and move people along. So if you do get a positive reply through at like midday, you want to reply to that as soon as possible and quickly attribute the data as you go through. Okay. It's going to allow you to stay on top of this as quickly as possible. But regardless, we have an evening PM workflow here. Okay. First things first, again, this is the exact same, by the way, as above, so I'm going to go through this quite quickly. You open the metric tracker, navigate to the correct month, open Calendly, add book prospects to the green column, cross out the book prospects from the purple column, open the relevant social profiles, check for prospects who have negatively replied and cross them off, send the Calendly link to engaged prospects and move them from B to C, and send the Evergreen VSL to interested prospects and move them from A to B. Very simple. And next, we have our second batch of follow-ups for the day. Okay, so we send our Trojan horse follow-up messages to initiated prospects that are +1 days old. Okay, now obviously you're going to be doing 1A follow-ups in the morning. However, you're going to be sending Trojan horses every single day, so it's very important to do this like in the morning and evening. Okay, so for example, like just do 1 batch of follow-ups on one day and another batch of follow-ups on the next day. Okay, so you won't be sending like all of your follow-ups that are needed in 1 batch. You just do them all for the 12th in the morning and all the ones from the 13th in the evening, just to batch them out. Next, you want to send your engaged prospects for the day. So come into the engaged section and do all of your follow-ups on people who are in the engaged section through here every 24 hours. So for example, if I came in here let's say for training purposes, the 21st today, I would send a follow-up here from the 19th. And you'll just pretty much back channel from when you sent the last follow-up and whether or not this one is needed or not. Okay. That's the SOPs, essentially. Again, the more time you spend on this throughout the day, the better results you're going to get. But if you want granular, black and white ways to approach the system, this is it here. Finally, don't outsource this to a virtual assistant. It's 10 minutes and it's arguably the most important thing to the function of the system. Do it yourself. Trust me, look at me as your guinea pig. I've tried everything I can to make DM Sorcery easier. I've tried outsourcing to VAs. I've tried automating it. The metrics just go down. Do this yourself, okay? You're not going to be running it forever. Eventually, you're going to have an appointment setter who's going to do this for you. While you're finding the winning system, make sure all of this is being done yourself. If you're not doing it yourself, metrics will go down. So next, we have testing volume. So to measure the effectiveness of your Trojan horse permission message, at least 100 people need to have seen it. To measure the effectiveness of your evergreen native VSL, at least 30 people need to have seen it. If you're out of KPI on positive reply, canally send rate, or ABR, do not make any changes until the above has achieved 100 permission messages seen and 30 evergreen native VSLs seen. Anything less than this and the data isn't valid. This doesn't mean 100 permission messages sent. Doesn't mean this. It means 100 permission messages seen, because you could send 100 but only have 40 seen. You need 100 people to see the message before you make changes. On the contrary, it's the same for the VSL. It's not just evergreen native VSLs sent, it's evergreen native VSL seen. Now, we don't have a tracking sheet for tracking the VSL because it's just too much to do. But if you do want to make changes to the system, go back through all of these prospects, click on the links, look at who's viewed it. 30 native VSLs need to be seen. It will take on average 2 to 8 weeks of consistent sending at a reasonable volume to find a proof of concept that allows you to book meetings at scale. Be sure to focus on building the system from the ground up and don't start trying to run multiple tests at once. Your only goal when first setting up DM Sorcery is to find a winning formula in the micro scale. Don't hire setters, don't automate sending, don't cut corners. If you can find a winning system with 2 to 3 accounts, this will scale with ease. If you can't even book appointments with 2 to 3 accounts and decide to outsource or scale, you will not fix the system. Scaling a broken system only scales the negatives, time and money it takes. Next, we're going to go through what I call scientific iterations. So once we have data that is valid, that's 100 Trojan and 30 VSL seen, we can begin to make iterations based on the data. Now, first things first, there's 2 different categories here. Scientific iterations you'll make if you're within KPI and scientific iterations you'll make if you're out of KPI. If you're in KPI, honestly, don't change anything. The risk associated with changing systems that are performing within KPI far outweigh the positives of potentially increasing positive reply or ABI by a few %. If you do identify a bottleneck in your system, create a split test on a new account and make small iterations to those instead of changing the system that's performing. So what I mean by that is these small iterations that you're making to a winning system must be done in a controlled environment away from the winning system to minimize the risk of metrics dropping. So we always advise iterating on a system that is performing well so that we can book more appointments. But number 1, putting more volume through it is going to be a much higher ROI for you. And number 2, if you are going to make changes and you've already put volume through the system and you want to iterate it even further, just do it in a controlled environment. Create a new account, warm it up, and test new things away from the winning system. Risk mitigation, it's so important. Next, we have out of KPI. Okay, so if your metrics are out of KPI, refer to the DM Sorcery Doctor for troubleshooting SOPs. For those of you who have been through Terminator Looms, we have something called the Loom Doctor, which are troubleshooting SOPs, which give you a granular breakdown of everything to do if your system is performing out of KPI. What I've done for you is create the exact same for DM Sorcery, and this took me a lot of time, but it effectively will identify every single bottleneck and every single contributor that could be adding towards a low KPI in one aspect of the system and show you exactly how to fix it. So I'm going to run you through this, but I'm first going to go through some other things here, okay? So please note that metrics marginally below KPI, 25% or less, 25% under KPI, do not need to be troubleshooted. The KPIs mentioned above are designed to give systems a lot of room to be iterated on. Because of this, we generally accept any KPI that fall below a threshold of 25%. So above, we went through the KPIs of 60% media scene rate, 6% positive reply rate, 3% candidly send rate, and 2% appointment booking rate. Now, it's minimum with an exclamation mark, but truthfully, we do accept a little bit lower than this because we do understand that just putting through more volume through a system that's even booking at 1% will get better results. So we put these here for you to strive towards, and this is what you want to aim to get. But if your system is operating below it, don't think it's the end of the world, essentially. So the absolute minimum KPIs here are a media scene rate of 40% or below, a positive reply rate of 4% or below, a candidly send rate of 2% or below, and a 1% ABR or below. If your metrics are above the minimum KPIs, just put more volume through the system. I can't say it as any simpler for you. Okay, yes, we want to achieve to get these KPIs here. But truthfully, if they're above this, just put more volume through the system. I don't want you spending loads of time changing the system when we are booking appointments here. Okay, if you're at least achieving a 1% ABR on your system, just put more volume through it. Trust me, I've tested it. You're going to save yourself a headache. Okay? And finally, be sure you've watched the entirety of Acquisition Genesis before building this, especially Morgan's acquisition theory and iterative Darwinian acquisition. If you can't get it to work and you come to us for help, we'll ask you about things in those modules and other parts of Acquisition Genesis. So be sure you've watched it. Okay? So now we're going to go through the DM Sorcery Doctor. Okay? Now, if you haven't set your system up right now, you can end the video right now because we only need this if the system is underperforming. Okay, and this is going to take me a good 20 minutes to go through. Feel free to watch it because it is good to understand before you run the system exactly what can be contributing to it. But truthfully, the best thing you can do right now is actually just launch the system. Okay, so I'm going to go through it now and run you through exactly how the DM Sorcery Doctor works. Please refer back to this document if your system is performing out of KPI. Okay. So introduction. If you're out of KPI on certain metrics, don't worry. It's always cause and effect. There's no random dark force working against you. We just need to define the problem. And this resource here will define the problem in your system for you. Please note, we can only measure the effectiveness of a change or issue over a volume of 60 to 100 initiates. Sending 20 to 30 Trojans and deciding to make a change is stupid, irrational, and impulsive. Watch Acquisition Genesis before performing any troubleshooting, and please track your metrics perfectly before even getting into this. So first things first, before we even look at the KPIs, you need to look at external variables. Ask yourself the following: is my market on holiday? Is it August? Is it Christmas? Is it Thanksgiving weekend, etc.? Alternatively, are there any major world events that would prevent my niche from booking? There may be worldwide or national events happening that are affecting your metrics, for example, COVID on the gym niche. If you identify anything, no matter how small it is, do not make any changes and just wait for another 4 weeks. It's likely your system is fine. Okay, so if you've got to drop a metrics and it's only over a course of a few weeks and you know there's something, an external variable playing into part here, please just keep running the system. I promise you the metrics will even out. Alternatively, like if I'm going to explain to you here, like even if your system is out of KPI for 2 or 3 weeks or even a whole month, but it has performed in the past, I would advise not making any changes because you've got a winning system. Just keep running it. People want to make changes because the bookings start coming down, but truthfully, month by month, things change. You should only really look at this document if you're out of KPI for 6 to 8 weeks, or if you've been out of KPI out the door. If you've got a system that has been working in the past, just keep running it. They'll probably come back up. So first things first, we have an MSR out of KPI, and this is 40% or less. Again, this is referring to these metrics, the absolute minimums. I understand it's a 60% minimum KPI above, but if we're going to be troubleshooting, 40% absolute minimum. First things first, there's two different types of media scene rate drop. We have a gradual MSR drop or out of KPI from the get-go, and then we have a sudden drop in media scene rate. So let's say you've been in KPI for 2 weeks and it starts dropping. So first thing first, a media scene rate out of KPI from the get-go. The zeroth thing to fix, I'm not sure that's even a word, but before you even start looking at the rest of these, you got to look at your niche. And the number one thing, the overarching thing in the environment that is going to play is, does your niche actually use social media personally? For example, agency owners, they don't really use Facebook that much. And I know that from testing, but they do use LinkedIn. On the other hand, for example, if we refer to like the cold email, like gym owners, okay, they're very active on cold email, but they're not active on LinkedIn, okay? The main question you have to ask yourself here is, does my niche actually use this platform to get clients, and are they active on it? If they're not, you need to try another outbound system. If you know your niche isn't on social media and your metrics are low, you need to try another outbound system. The first thing to fix or check is the lead quality. This is the main thing that goes into MSR. Are your leads recently active? Have they posted recently? Is your source point active? And this means, like, if let's say you're sourcing from a Facebook group, is that actually a new group and are people actually commenting on it? And on average, when were they last active on Messenger? So you can go to the inbox and look at when someone was last active. For most social platforms, this is active to you if they're your friend. And they'll tell you, for example, they've been active in the last hour or like over 7 days ago. Okay? Mostly, are these leads you're reaching out to actually active? Okay, and as you work through this, what I recommend doing is making a file, make a copy, and then just checking these off as you go through. Okay, if any of these you can't check them essentially, then this is the issue. Next, are you messaging personal accounts? So this is very important for DM Sorcery. We do not message business pages unless you're reaching out to like a coach or consultant who only has a business page. But for the most part, we do not message business pages. And if you are messaging business pages, this can affect the media scene rate. Next, are you sourcing all leads yourself, not relying on scraping softwares? Are you not using a lead sourcer who probably sells the leads to other companies? Again, we advise lead sourcing everything manually. So effectively, if you can check all these off, then you can say that lead quality is not an issue for you, and you can move on to the next thing. Next thing that contributes to media scene rates dropping is the account health. If your account health is low, you could be hitting the message request folder. Are you only messaging accounts who have accepted your friend request, connection request, or follow request? This is very important. We do not send any messages cold. They have to be your friend or a connection or follow you back before we send any messages. And if you're sending these completely cold without first requesting them, you're going to go into the message request folder, and that's going to affect media scene rate. Next, have you gone over the daily sending limits? So in the next video, we're going to go through the exact daily sending limits for each platform. But if you've breached those in any way, then that's going to be affecting the account health, and it could be your account health that's making your messages disappear effectively, or just go into the message request folder. Next, have I properly warmed up my account for 2 weeks using the account warm-up SOPs? And this will be explained in the next video. If you have created the account, warmed it up for 2 weeks, then you're fine, and you can move on to the next thing. The third thing to check or fix is the platform. Sometimes platforms will either not give an accurate representation of who's viewing your messages or have technicalities you need to work around. For example here, LinkedIn is notoriously bad at displaying read receipts. If LinkedIn is your trouble account, you should next move to positive reply rate and monitor this very closely to assess media scene rate. So sometimes on LinkedIn, it won't show you if someone's actually viewed your message. If this is the case, we have to look at positive reply rate, and we have some math underneath that you can use in order to determine how high your media scene rate actually is. Another example is Instagram. You'll likely have to send a text-based entry before you're Trojan on this platform, otherwise your media will be hidden. If this is the case, first send a text-based entry, and this is explained in the next video. And if it's still low, move on to assessing positive reply rate to get a rough estimate for your media scene rate. Again, this is explained below. On average, 20% of your prospects who view your Trojan horse permission message will reply positively or negatively. So if you can't get an accurate representation of the media scene rate, and you know there's a factor like on Instagram or LinkedIn that is limiting you from actually seeing who's viewing your Trojan horse permission messages, then you need to use a positive reply rate. So what you want to do is collect all of the negative replies and then add them to the amount of positive replies you got, and then multiply this number by 5 for a rough estimate of your media scene rate. If this number is close to KPI, your account is fine. So an example here, let's say you sent Trojan Horse 100 Trojan Horse permission messages. Out of that, you received 4 positive replies and 8 negative replies. You'll add the 4 positive replies and 8 negative replies to get 12, and then multiply this by 5 because only 20% of people on average will reply, and then you'll get a rough estimate of a 60% media scene rate. Okay? If your rough estimate is in KPI, then you're fine. The next thing here, am I using a platform that has media scene limitation out of my control? Okay, so this is the main thing. Like, for example, like if you've done this estimate and it's fine, then you can check this off. And regardless of whether or not you're using the system that is there, you've done the math and you can check this off as well. Okay, so the 2 things for the platform that affect the media scene rate. If none of the above, move on to the next thing. The 4th thing to fix or check is the account configuration. Is my account set up using the parameters laid out in the platform video? This is the next video. Does my account look pitchy or salesy? There's another thing. People won't reply to you if they know they're going to pitch, even if you've gone through the Trojan Horse permission message. Next, am I posting or configuring my account in a way that looks unprofessional? Even if you sent a good Trojan Horse, if your account doesn't look professional, they won't reply. Does my profile picture have a clear and inviting picture of my face? Just a picture of you smiling up close. Did I create my account myself, not bought online? This is another thing, you know, it's very obvious if an account's been bought most of the time, and it also affects the account health here. Effectively, did you create the account yourself? And finally, is my account under a real name / identity? The cause will lie in one of the above. Okay, if you've checked all of these off and none of them are playing into a part of this, I promise you it will be in here. It will probably be the external variable or the niche. And if you can't notify anything, just post it in the community, tag me on school, give me your accounts, some screenshots of your accounts, give me your metrics, give me your lead quality, and I'll assess and find the issue for you. And number 2, a sudden drop in media scene rate after being in KPI for 2+ weeks. For example, you had a 60% media scene rate, but it's dropped to 30%. Now, first things first, just keep running the system. Truthfully, because metrics will go up and down. There are some variables that will play into this, but truthfully, just keep running the system. You can use the below resources to identify anything, but truthfully, just keep running the system. The metrics will probably go back up. The first thing to check, stupid changes. Check this off if you've made no random, impulsive, or unscientific changes to the lead sourcing, sending limit, process, or to my account configuration. If you changed any of this, then that could be playing into the media scene rate. Go back to what you're doing before and keep running the test. Second thing, lead quality. I haven't changed the lead source recently. If, for example, you were sourcing on Facebook in a Facebook group and now you've switched to like a influencer and you're sourcing from his interactions, then that's a change you've made and that could be affecting the media scene rate and the lead quality. Check off if you haven't made any changes to the lead sourcing, no matter how small. And finally, account health. If no to 1 and 2, this is most certainly the culprit. If your account health has lowered, you could be hitting the message request folder. Check these off if you have only been messaging accounts who have accepted my friend request, connection request, or follow requests. And check this off, have I recently gone over the daily sending limits? Okay? If you, for example, like one day last week, you sent 50 messages on Facebook, just one day of doing that can affect your account health and that can affect the media scene rate. If you've done all of this and you haven't found the problem, feel free to post in the school group with all your data, tests, context, and info about the system. Make sure you tag me and I'll be able to find the problem and give you the next steps. Next, we have our PRR out of KPI. So this is 4% or less. Again, this is on the absolute minimum. It's not 6%, it's 4%. If it's above 4%, you just put more volume through it. First thing to check, media scene rate. Is the media scene rate in KPI? So if your positive reply is out of KPI, the first thing we'll do is check the media scene rate here, based on what we spoke about above. If not, revisit the MSR section above and come back here once it is. If not, move on to the next thing. The second thing, the Trojan Horse delivery, you must be able to answer yes to the following. Is your entry video sound / video quality good? Is your entry video in selfie mode? Are you holding the camera? Are you looking into the camera, not yourself, and breaking eye contact regularly? Are you confident in your entry video? Are you excited in your entry video? Are you enthusiastic and do you sound happy in your entry video? Are you not going over the top? Are you not being robotic? Are you not being dull? Are you not sounding boring? And do you not sound monotonal? Also, check these off, but please also ask a trusted friend or a family member or fellow EasyGrow community member to answer the above questions. In fact, just tag me and ask me. Since it's your audio file, you'll naturally be biased. You can always ask the community what they think of your tone by posting the audio file in the group. If none of the above are the problem, move on to the next thing. The third thing to check is your Trojan Horse content, and you must be able to answer yes to the following. Is the Trojan horse non-evergreen? That's the most important thing. Are you recording these manually? If you're evergreening these, this will be the culprit. Do you name drop the business? Do you say their name or do you say their business name? Is the Trojan horse in selfie mode? Does the Trojan horse ask a no-brainer yes or no question? For example, are you interested in new ways of getting clients? Does the Trojan horse ask for permission to pitch them? Do you avoid rambling and saying unnecessary bullshit? Do you avoid getting into the details of your service or product? You should not be doing this in the Trojan horse anyway, but if you're mentioning anything technical about your service, take it out. Is my Trojan horse entry message under 20 seconds? Do I give a clear thumbs up call to action and physically put my thumb up? And again, is the script in your own words? Have you pretty much made a script yourself, or have you copied one in the course? If you copied one in the course, this is the issue. You need to create it yourself. If answering yes to all of the above, try another. For example, if you've done all this and you can't find an issue, try another Trojan horse script variant that's different from the existing one. If, after exhausting all three of your Trojan horse script variants, try the school group for help and be sure to attach your metrics, context, etc. and please tag me. Next, your CSR out of KPI, 2% or less. The first thing to check is your positive reply rate. Just go over the positive reply rate that I've just been through above and try and get your positive reply rate up to get the Calendly send rate up. This will be the first thing you do. Second thing to check, the native VSL delivery. And again, you must be able to answer yes to the following. Is your VSL sound/video quality good? Are you looking into the camera, not yourself, and breaking eye contact regularly? Are you confident in your VSL? Are you excited, enthusiastic, and do you sound happy in your VSL? Are you not going over the top in your VSL? Are you not being robotic, dull, boring, or monotonal? Also ask a trusted friend, or family member, or me, or Easygrow community member, okay? You're going to be naturally biased here. Make sure you ask the community what they think of your tone by posting an audio file into the group. If none of the above are the problem, move on to the next thing. And the third thing to check, the final thing, the native VSL content. And again, you must be able to answer yes to the following. Does the native VSL have an audited offer? That means one you've been through Acquisition Genesis and had it audited by Nora and the team. Plus, a risk reversal within the first 20 seconds. This is very important. You need to have your offer and pay on results or risk reversal within the first 20 seconds of the VSL. Does the native VSL mention an audited offer plus risk reversal at least 3 times throughout? So again, you need to get the offer and risk reversal in the first 20 seconds and then mention it 3 times in total throughout the entirety of the VSL. Does the native VSL have testimonials or follow the no testimonial SOP? Does the native VSL mention accurate pain points of the niche? Do you avoid rambling and saying unnecessary bullshit? Do you avoid getting into details of your service and product and keep it high level? Effectively, are you mentioning Facebook ads? Are you mentioning database reactivation? Are you mentioning social content? If you are, it's not high level enough. You're giving them keywords to make them not want to book in. Is my Trojan horse permission message under 1 minute and 58 seconds? And this is a bit of a mistake on my end. Is your native VSL under 1 minute and 58 seconds? If it's above, it's too long. Do you give a clear thumbs up call to action and physically put your thumb up at the end? And again, is the script in your own words? If you've answered yes to all of the above and there's no issue that you can find, you need to script up a new variant and try it that's different from the existing one. Okay? You effectively need to try this 3 times and go through the Loom Doctor 3 times. And if you can't find a winning VSL script, come to the school group for help. Attach your metrics, attach the context, attach the VSL, and tag me. And finally, the ABR out of KPI. This is 1% or less. If it's above 1%, put more volume into the system. First thing you check is your Calendly send rate in KPI. Okay? Go through all of this above. If your Calendly send rate is in KPI, 2% minimum, move on to the next one. Second thing to check, Calendly. You must be able to answer yes. Is the link working and taking people to the right place? Can you schedule events properly? So test it yourself. Can you schedule and does it come through to your booking on your back end? Did you follow the Calendly configuration instructions in Acquisition Genesis? Is there plenty of availability in your Calendly event? 10 plus slots available. Are you avoiding overqualifying people as per Acquisition Genesis? So you're not overqualifying people in the DMs, effectively. And also, you need to have plus 10 slots available. For me, I noticed when Easygrow was fully booked, my booking rate dropped massively because there was no slots on the calendar. If you're fully booked, add more sales reps. Or add an extra hour to your time, okay? Trust me, like you can do all these things for improving ABR, but simply if someone can't book in or they can't find a time that works for them, ABR is going to go down. Third thing to check, replying. Okay, this is actually how you reply to these prospects. Are you replying to all engaged prospects within 12 hours and ideally as soon as possible? Are you avoiding answering questions from prospects in your replies? If they ask you anything about the service, you direct them to a sales call or discovery call. You do not answer the questions there, because by answering a question in the DMs, you satisfy their curiosity and you give them a reason not to book. Are you leveraging questions to get a call booked? Are you leaving your answers to questions vague enough to keep them curious? Are your replies results focused? Keep them focused on the result, benefit and offer, and not the technicalities of how your service works. Are you modeling your replies from the proven replies in the program? And where necessary, are you sending looms to build rapport of your replies? This is a big one. You want to be sending looms as replies in the prospects, but it's going to go over in the next few videos exactly how to reply to these prospects. If not, move to the next thing. Next, your warm follow-up sequence. Okay? Are your warm follow-ups consistent every 1 to 2 days? Are you following up on all engaged prospects at least 8 times? Do you include ironic or humorous messages on your last 2 to 3 follow-ups? Are your warm follow-ups simple, straightforward, and without bullshit? Are you linking your Calendly in every warm follow-up you send? If none of the above are the problem, try the school group for help. Again, attach everything and tag me. And finally, your connection acceptance rate out of KPI, 20% or less. First thing to fix, or the 0th thing to fix, is your niche. Does your niche actually use social media personally? If not, use another outbound system. First thing to check is lead quality. This is again the same as media scene rate. Are your leads recently active? Have they posted recently? Is your source point active? On average, when were they last active on Messenger? If they're not active, that'll be affecting the connection acceptance rate. Are you requesting personal accounts, not business pages? Are you sourcing all leads yourself? And are you not using a lead sourcer who probably sells the leads to other companies? If not, move to the next thing. Next thing is account configuration. This is very important. Is my account set up using the parameters laid out in the platform video? Does my account look pitchy or salesy? Am I posting or configuring my account in a way that looks unprofessional? This here, your account looking pitchy or salesy, you do not want to pitch any prospects on your account, because your profile account needs to be primed to get connections accepted, not to convert people. Because if you're running an outbound system, no one is going to book in from your profile. No one. You might get 1 a year. There's no point in pitching people in your bio. If you have a bio that says, I can add 20% to your bottom line revenue in 6 months, no one's going to accept you because no one wants to be pitched. Remove it, prime your account to get the connections accepted, and then let the Trojan horse delivery and the DM Sorcery system do all of the pitching for you. Am I posting content that looks organic? Does my profile picture have a clear and inviting picture of my face? Did I create the account myself, and is my account under a real name / identity? Third thing to fix. If your account health is low, you could be hitting the message request folder. Have you gone over daily limits? This is the daily request limit. Okay? Have I properly warmed up my account for 2 weeks using the account warm SOPs? Okay? If you haven't warmed up your account or you've gone over the limits, your request is just going to go out and just go into the ether. It's going to go into thin air and it's going to disappear. It's never going to reach the person's request folder. If none of the above are the problem, move on to the next thing. Actually, that is the final thing, so we can remove that. The cause will lie in one of the above. It will mostly be lead quality and account configuration, and if it's not, it's just your niche not being active on that profile. Remember, DM Sorcery, alongside other outbound, inbound, or paid acquisition systems, is cause and effect. If you aren't getting results, it's because one of the checkboxes in this document. If you are stuck, even after troubleshooting, try the school community. So that has been metric and prospect tracking. It's been a very long video, but it is by far the most important aspect of this system. Make sure you track data correctly. Make sure you make changes only when you need to. Come to me if you need help, and I'll see you in platforms in the next video.